Today is September 28th, 2013. My name is Joe Todd, and this is an interview with Ralph Shrivalle in Dewey, Oklahoma, and you live in Grand Island, Florida.
Yes.
So, where were you born?
Augusta, Georgia.
Augusta, Georgia. And when's your birthday?
2941.
2941. Who was your father?
Wade Shrivalle.
Wade.
Wade.
And your mother?
Francis.
What was her maiden name?
Amon.
A-M-E-N?
A-M-O-N.
A-M-O-N. Did you go through school in Augusta?
No, I started grammar school in North Augusta. I lived across the river in South Carolina,
Okay.
but we didn't have a hospital there. So.
Yeah.
But I started school there and we moved up to Middlesboro, Kentucky, where I kept going through elementary school, 4th, 5th grade. Then we moved to Waycross, Georgia for a couple of years, 6th and 7th. And then we moved to Charleston, South Carolina, where I finished high school there.
Graduated what year?
59.
59. And why did the family move to Middlesboro and Waycross?
My father was Postal Inspector, and he traveled to different divisions, and as he advanced, he was offered, not Attorney General, but one of the top positions for the inspectors, Postal Inspectors Corps.
Okay. In your schooling, who was your favorite teacher?
Probably, I wouldn't have said it at the time, but probably now looking back, Mrs. Wilson.
And why was she your favorite?
Well, she was my English teacher, and even though I didn't try to learn that much, she ingrained a lot in us as far as vocabulary, word usage. So I think overall for my life, she had more effect.
Of course, the war ended in 1945. Did you have any memories at all of the war?
The only thing I can remember is my dad had us listen to Winston Churchill's speeches during the war, a lot of part of the war. But other than that, no, I saw movies of it, news of it, but no.
Remember VJ Day?
Yeah.
What happened on VJ Day? Were you in Waycross?
Let's see, what year was that?
Oh no, that was September 45 or August 45.
No, we were 45. Let's see, I was in North Augusta still.
Okay.
Born in 41, so.
Okay. Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Okay. So, what did you do for recreation in high school?
Played basketball, ran track. Those are the two basic
Okay.
things.
Have a good basketball team?
Yeah, we had a pretty good one. Well, I played football too. Sorry.
Okay. Have a good team?
Yes. My high school, and let's see, the year I started with the team, just as a freshman, they won the state championship for a 4A high school. Pretty good.
Do you remember when North Korea invaded South Korea in 1950?
Vaguely, I remember the Korean War, but I couldn't tell you specifics of it.
What did you think about the Korean War when you heard about this?
Well, I guess I was sort of the opinion, maybe not at the time, later, that MacArthur would have been right to have gone across the 38th. That may have caused more problems that I was unaware of, but he was liked by a lot and disliked by a lot, but he seemed to be pretty powerful with a military mind. So
Until you met Truman.
well, as his boss, he couldn't do much.
Yeah, yeah.
I understood they fought enough.
Yes, yes. What'd you do after high school?
Let's see. Well, I joined the Navy between my junior and senior year in high school, in the reserves, and served on a DE on and off reserve type stuff.
Now, when did you join the reserves?
Let's see, 58.
1958. What unit did you join?
Oh boy, it was in Charleston. I can't tell you what particular unit it was.
Okay.
But I graduated. I went to submarine school right after that. Came back and went to College of Charleston for a year in preparation for waiting for an appointment from Elmendal Rivers, who was chairman of the House Armed Forces Committee, to go to the Naval Academy. And I went to the Naval Academy for a year and left after the first year.
Why?
Hazing. I guess I didn't grow up with the feeling that I could be downtrodden so much. The hazing, and I fought it, which means it got worse.
What type of hazing did they do?
Well, push-ups and sit-ups and all that, not a problem. Keeping the room straight for inspections anytime, night or day. But the hazing that got to me was what they call sitting on the little green bench, which was you braced yourself up against the wall and you slid down the wall to your hips to your knees were horizontal to the floor, and then your legs were straight down, and you stayed there till they told you to get up. And that's sort of, after 40, 45 minutes, that sort of deadened the legs.
Yes, yes.
So anyway, I told Elmendal Rivers that I wanted out. And he asked me he understood, after we talked quite a bit, he understood why. And he asked me what I'd like to do. I told him I'd like to go in submarines. So how much he had to do with that, I'd already gone through submarine school. So I ended up going to submarines, going to the George Washington.
I'd like to back up.
Okay.
Why did you join the Navy Reserve over the Army or the Marine Reserve?
Probably because growing up in Charleston had a very large Navy contingent there, large base, a lot of ships. And I guess that had an effect that, it was there, and I could see it all the time. And one of my dad's best friends was a captain in the Navy, retired admiral, but he was a submarine commander during the war, World War II. Lost a couple of subs, but had quite a record.
Yes.
So I'm sure that.
Okay. In the reserves, did you have boot camp?
Well, we had boot camp at submarine school,
Okay.
and that sufficed rather than going to Great Lakes or San Diego.
Now, tell me about your reserve meetings. Where'd you have your meetings?
But where did we have them?
Yeah.
Charleston Navy Base.
And what did you do at your reserve meetings?
Oh, you learned military history, some of the ins and outs, do's and don'ts of the Navy. When do you salute officers? How to keep your uniform right? How to shine shoes? Just all the basics that you need to know that when you go in, that you can get put on a report for if you do things wrong, or really just not come up to standard.
Now, when you first went in the Navy, active duty, did you request submarine school?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Probably because of a friend of my dad's that I had heard about submarines a little bit. And I guess at that age, I was just crazy enough to, that seemed good. Later on, I wanted to volunteer for the SEALs. And I was nuts enough to do it because they say they're all nuts. But they weren't accepting applications later. So
tell me about your boot camp.
Marching a lot, learning drills, learning how to clean, break down, put together. Back then it was the M1, you know, all these modern weapons they have now. But the M1 was the basic back then. So, but you learn Navy etiquette and more marching than anything else. The drills. You know.
Tell me about your petty officers in boot camp.
Well, I think at the time they had been told that they couldn't really come down on recruits, but they ran us pretty hard, and they get in your face and, you know, make you feel like you were the bottom of the ocean. Now, they were tough. They really were, but they were tough for a good reason.
Now, was your boot camp at the submarine school?
Yes.
Okay. So,
we had drilling in the morning, in the afternoon, and we had class during the day.
what type of classes did you have?
Learning subs,
Okay.
you know, just basic submarine, you know, terminology, whatnot. We ended up going out on subs, out of New London, and
Were these the old diesel subs?
yes,
Okay.
yes, a good old diesel.
What'd you do on those subs?
You stood watch with different groups in the sub, enginemen, torpedomen, in operations in the control room, machinist mates, and just really learned basics of the different,
Okay.
you know.
So tell me about submarine school.
Well, it was 10 weeks during the summer. Actually, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I was learning. They went through electronics. When I enlisted in the Navy, they had different tests that you took to find out where your applications or out of, you know, best suit was. Well, my lowest score at the time was in electronics. So I told them I wanted to get into electronics, one way or the other, because I was going to use the Navy to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a missile technician. But in sub school, getting back to that, they had portions in electronics, radios, and I thoroughly enjoyed it and did very good in it. In fact, later I went to a week or 2 week long radio super heterodyne course that was designed for first class and chiefs that had been in the service and done a lot. But my captain figured I could do good enough, so I went in and I came out second in the class. So I learned quite a bit of electronics in the service.
Now, I interviewed some guys at submarines World War II. They had this tower of water. Did you have this at submarine school?
Oh yeah, the escape tank.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about this.
Well, it's the bottom of it's 115 feet tall. They have openings at graduated levels going down. The uppermost one is 12 foot down, if I remember right. Then they go down in steps of maybe 15 feet, and the last one's down at 112 feet. And they're escape tanks, just like in a submarine. You go into them, and they pressurize. They close the door you go into, and they pressurize that tank and let the water in till the air at that whatever level you're at. That pressure is the same as what the water pressure is outside. So they open the hatch going out into the tank, and you take a big breath, and then before you let go of the lip, you go out through the door. You hold on, and the dive instructor that's with you in the tank, his signal for you to go up is he puts his fist in your stomach, your solar plexus, and you just drive all the air out, and you start up. That's the signal to go. They have frogmen in the tank watching you, and the whole time you're going up, you blow bubbles out. It's because the pressure outside your body is decreasing. You don't want to explode your lungs.
Yes.
So you go up and hit the surface, and the 12-foot level is was the roughest for me. I could take the 112-foot level without a problem. I mean, I'd go down to it and go up, everything was fine. But you learned to free ascent, escape from a submarine, you know, up to 112 foot in the tank. But they had different programs where they tested volunteers to go out of a sub, out in the sound, below 112 feet, to see just how it would work out. And this all came about from a German sub that was sunk in World War II in 400 feet of water. It went to the bottom, couldn't get up. The crew was still alive. I mean, they weren't killed when it went down. And they figured the only way they could live is to escape, free escape, surface. About half of them died going up. Their lungs blew up they didn't know to blow out air. And the other half ended up, that some lived, but they had ruptured lungs and this sort of thing. But that was a key that it could be done. And that's what we do.
Okay.
That was the purpose of the tank. And I looked forward, when they told us about the tank, I looked forward to that. Like I said, I was young. Give me something to do, and I'd do it.
Now, why was the 12-foot level the roughest?
Probably because you either put out too much air before you left, or you didn't put out enough. I never did figure that out, but from any depth below that, by the time I hit that level, I was in good shape, just going on up to the surface. But I think a little bit of it is because, if I remember right, the expansion curve for the pressure as you get closer to the surface opens up quite a bit. The air expands real fast getting close to the surface. That's the way I can remember it. Maybe that's not exactly true, but.
Now, did you train with the, what's the lung called? The
Momsen
lung.
Trained with that a little bit, but for the tank, to pass it for the subs, to go through the tank, it was free ascent. No, just you wore a bathing suit and that was it.
Okay.
Momsen, I guess, is used quite a bit in the Navy now. Maybe they have newer things now, because this goes back quite a ways. Okay. Where you can breathe normal going up, and the pressure in the mask breathes itself out. It bleeds out air, so the pressure maintains going up.
Okay. And submarine school lasted how long?
10 weeks.
10 weeks. What's your most vivid memory of submarine school?
First time we went out on an actual sub, going out to the sound, one of my roommates and I were up on the bridge as lookouts out in the sound, and they sounded the diving alarm to go below, for diving. And my roommate couldn't do it. He froze on the bridge. Found out he had claustrophobia. Tied up to the dock, he could go down inside the sub. But going in to go into water, he couldn't do it. And I tried to get him, come off, because if you can't do it, you're out.
Yes.
Well, he was out.
Yes.
You can't take somebody that's got claustrophobia. But other than that, that made a big impact. Going into the pressure tank that they have at sub school I wasn't afraid of it. I looked forward to it, but it was something that I never had done before, never experienced, and didn't know what to expect. But they put you in this tank, about 4 or 6 guys. It's not a real big tank, but they start bleeding air pressure in. And you go down, I can't remember the depth, but they put like 100, 150 PSI in the tank for a short time, and you breathe it. Of course, you start talking funny. But it gets very cold in the pressure. When they start relieving the pressure, temperature just goes on down.
Oh.
But that was probably the 2 things that, biggest things for me. Of course, graduation. Finishing it.
Tell me about your graduation.
Oh, they just got us together and took pictures, and they presented us with diplomas for sub school, and talked to us about what we wanted to do with subs, where we wanted to go, where we wanted to be based.
What did you select?
Right off the bat, I think one of my selections was Charleston because I was familiar with it. One was Hawaii, just throwing something up, being young. I think those were the two that I can remember selecting.
And what did you get?
I got assigned to Charleston, but before really I reported in, I went back to college. I could get a deferment, whatever they called it back then. And that's when I took the route going a year to college at Charleston, then a year to the Naval Academy. After that, I went back into subs, but now I had a real choice of did I want to go into missile subs, fast attack. They were all nuclear then.
Yes.
So I wanted to get into a missile sub, which I did. In fact, they were just going to sea back then. So I was assigned to the blue crew of the George Washington, which was the first of the missile submarines.
What's a blue crew?
They have two crews on a missile sub, blue and a gold crew. They both same number of men, both have captains, the whole crew, and they alternate on the sub because you can't stay year-round at sea. So we were on a 3-month rotation. We'd go to sea and stay at sea for 3 months while the other crew goes back to the States to New London, and in our case, because we were in Scotland and New London. They'd go back to New London and go through class. They have 30 days leave if they wanted it. Then you go through class and just maintain everything for the 2 months. Fly back over to, in our case, Scotland, and you have both crews on the sub to turn it over, to get everything right, replace defective equipment. And then the other crew that's been stateside will take it out. You go out off the coast, you submerge, and 3 months later you surface in the exact same spot, only 180 degrees.
Which submarine were you on?
George Washington.
You told me that. Mm-hmm. Now, what was your job in the blue crew?
I was a missile technician.
What does a missile technician do?
Maintain the missiles for firing.
What missiles did you have?
We had the Polaris missiles.
Polaris. How does the Polaris work, or is that an authorized question?
I don't think it is now, and I'll try to give you an idea without, I don't think, any secrets. I think it's pretty well known. It's been in news and everything else. We carried 16 missiles. We had 16 tubes. You launch them, they had a film over the top. You launched them with air pressure. It's like a lot like a torpedo. With enough buoyancy with the bubble, they'd go up and break the surface of the water, go above the surface, and through the electronic sensing systems they had, they would fire off above the surface of the water and take off and go into space.
How high do they go? Is that classified?
That's classified.
Okay. I want to ask that.
No, you can ask. I'll tell you.
Yeah, okay.
What I still think I
Yes.
remember I can tell you.
Describe your quarters on the George Washington.
Well, the diameter of our sub was 33 feet inside. So we were a lot bigger than the old diesels.
Yeah.
We had two berthing areas that very nice bunks, air conditioned, light in each bunk, curtains on them for privacy. I could sit and lay in there and read. My particular one, being a missile technician, we had in the missile compartment, between the missile tubes, we had bunks in there. So, and that's what I had. I could stand on my bunk and there's no way I could reach the overhead. I mean, it was way up there, probably about 20 feet. But we had lockers in there with, in between 4 tubes, we had a nice little nest there for lockers and the bunk and whatnot. But very good accommodations. In most of our sub, we had 3 levels. So
Three levels. What are they?
3 individual levels through each compartment.
Okay. Okay. What would be on each level?
Well, in the lower level, generally you've got the bilge, get access to the bilge. We stored food items there that needed to maintain cool, but not frozen or whatnot. So you'd store food. When we would go to sea, we'd have food stored everywhere, because we were out for so many months. You have a lot of the working systems, air systems, piping, hydraulic systems, piping in the lower level. The middle level, you generally had cruise areas, working areas for the missile tubes, for operations, for the control room. Forward, you only had one level basically in the torpedo room, and that was just a full height compartment with tubes and tube racks or torpedo racks on each side. Of course, we had only one. Well, we had a walk-through over the nuclear reactor, and that was it. Just a tunnel going through. In the machinery spaces, you had 3 levels, so you could get to various pieces of equipment.
What was your average day on the Washington? What'd you do?
Well, we stood
What time did you get up?
varied, depending on what watch you had.
Okay.
We stood a 6 on, 12 off watch. The Navy traditionally in the past stood a 4 on, 8 off. And I'd stood that watch, before I went to the GW. And 4 hours is not long for a watch. 8 hours is rather quick to get sleep and to eat and everything else. The 6 hours, the 2 extra hours on a watch was not bad at all. But when you had 12 hours off, you had a lot you could do. You had, of course, every 6 hours, we had a very good meal on our sub. In fact, I gained almost 100 pounds the first year I was on it. But let's see, where were we?
Your average day.
Oh, okay. Let's say I had the 0600 to noon watch. I'd get up, have breakfast. Get up at 5:30, have breakfast. Go on watch at 6. On watch, first thing we'd do is make sure the whole area was clean. Clean up. Then we'd look at the systems tests that they had run the previous day or the previous watch, see if we needed to do any repair work or something, a test had failed or something.
What type of test?
Running missile test, guidance system test on the missile, air systems checks, just multitude of. But we checked that out. We had coffee the whole watch, every watch. But we might read some if everything was done. Before the end of watch, we'd read, maybe study. We could take college courses while we were at sea. USAFI courses, which I took several of those because, continue that education. But after watch, we had 12 hours, but we finished watch, we'd have another meal. And we could we'd either take courses, we might have meetings with our missile group. Every so many days or once a week, we had a real field day. We had to go into everything and clean it. We kept the sub pretty spick and span inside. Of course, you also want to get a few hours sleep. So you'd end up getting 3 to 4 hours sleep, maybe 5. Very few people slept more than that while we were at sea. and then you'd start the routine all over. And quite often when I first started, I mean, if they ever said, they wake you up, and they said it's like 5:30, okay, which is it, morning or night? Yeah, you do. You lose track of whether it's day or night. But like I said, we had 4 good meals a day. We had 3 of the best cooks in the service. That was used as a morale factor. We had the best baker in the service. Every night he would make a couple hundred dozen gooey, donuts, gooey buns, pies. If anybody had a birthday, he'd make 5 or 6 layer birthday cake, just all the time. I mean, he was really a good baker.
Where'd you take your meals?
We had a mess hall that
mess hall.
we had seven tables in the mess hall. Okay. You could sit, basically 2 seatings of the crew generally. We had about 140 in our crew.
Now, was there an officer's country?
Yes. Yes.
Now, where's the officer's country?
It was forward of the control room, over battery compartment. They had their own wardroom, pretty good sized wardroom. Well, all officers could be in there, and there were, I don't guess now anymore, 12 to 15 officers.
Who was captain?
My captain was Captain James B. Osborne.
James B. Osborne.
Osborne.
Tell me about him.
Very powerful man. Rick overtrained. In everything I learned, he probably, the missile program probably would not have made it without him, because he was the first skipper when they started it. Before they even built the sub.
Yeah.
He looked over everything, made all kind of suggestions, as I understand it, and just basically because of him, the systems worked. Yeah. He was promoted, I believe, to admiral. When the Thresher went down, he had already been transferred off our boat, promoted off. But when the Thresher went down, he was put in charge of finding it and determining what happened, which he did.
There's a boy from Bartlesville on the Thresher.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. So I had 2 friends on the Thresher. Yeah. One of them I was the one that went and told his wife, who I'd known for years, that doesn't look like he's going to be coming back. But it was.
Now, was Washington the first Polaris submarine?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a saying, I don't know how true it is. I don't know whether in my mind I've heard it so much that whether it's true or rumor, but Khrushchev was Russian premier at the time.
Yes.
And he supposedly went on TV, national TV, and declared war on our sub by name. Told his Navy to sink it when they found it. Well, they may have, but they never found us, so they couldn't sink it.
Yeah.
But no, we were the first. We were the only ones out there for a short time. Okay. And then the Abraham Lincoln was put to sea.
Now, first time you fired a missile. Mm-hmm. What do you do when you fire a missile? What's your job?
My job? Let's see if I remember back. I was involved in some of the testing, the sequence testing for firing a missile, making sure that all the signals were there, inputted properly. Then it went through systems for the fire control technicians, because they were the ones more involved with the actual firing of the missile, along with the captain and the weapons officer. It took several people to fire a missile. You know, people say, what if one person went nuts to fire one? Couldn't be done.
Of course, the Cold War is going on.
Mm-hmm.
How did you deal with the Russians? Did you deal with the Russians in any way?
We didn't really deal with them. We were out there with our missiles. And if they, as the saying goes, if they ever had to fire, and I guess it's still true, if they ever have to fire any of the missiles from those subs, now they're much more powerful, then they've defeated their purpose. They're to prevent nuclear war. They would only be fired if the United States, continental United States, were hit with a nuclear missile. And then all hell would break loose, let's face it. Probably the end of the world.
Now, are you in the commissioning crew of the George Washington?
No.
Okay.
No, I reported board after that.
Okay, after that. Okay. How long were you on the George Washington?
2 years.
2 years. What's your most vivid memory of your time on the George Washington?
I guess the first time we went on sea trials, because every time out of port, when you've been making changes to things, you go on sea trials for either a week or 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And back then, this was before the Thresher. We dove. We went to, well, we did everything underwater that sub was supposedly capable of doing. We went to what they call test depth. And when you go to test depth, I mean, you're looking to see if you go have leaks or whatnot. You get minor leaks, here and there, but you hear the hull and piping and everything in the sub creaking and groaning. I mean, the pressure outside is enormous, and that's what happened to the Thresher. They had a 14-inch coolant line for the reactor carry away at test depth. Ain't no way you go stop it. It was instantaneous. Filled that compartment, killed the crew there, and the rest of the crew probably had, I'm gonna guess, maybe a minute, 2 minutes before she went down to crush depth, and then imploded. So it was quick. Although they knew what was coming. That's what you volunteer for.
Yeah.
You know it can happen.
Okay, you were talking about crush depth, the Thresher, and all that. Yeah. Okay. And when did you go aboard the George Washington?
When did I go aboard? It was in 60.
1960.
Mm-hmm.
You called the month?
No, you don't.
So you came off in 62?
No, actually, I said 2 years earlier, but I came off. It was either late 60 or early 61 I went aboard. Okay. Came off in early 64.
And then is that when you went to Naval Academy?
No, I thought Naval Academy before.
Before, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, okay. Now, had the Gulf of Tonkin already occurred at this time? When did that happen?
You're going back in time on me, aren't you?
Yeah,
I can't honestly answer it.
Was that 64?
It sounds about right. It was in the early to mid 60s.
Yes.
But I can't tell you whether I was on board or not.
Okay. Now, what did you do after you left the George Washington?
Well, I got out. I went back to Georgia Tech.
You got out of the
Well, I went to Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Well, I stayed in the reserves,
Okay.
and while I was at Tech, well, let's see now. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think because I stayed in the reserves. I went to Tech because they had a reserve unit right there at Tech.
Okay.
Went on training duty, 2 weeks training duty, out of Tech over to Charleston for 2 weeks duty, and I was assigned to a diesel sub. And our job for 2 weeks was going out to monitor a nuclear sub that was going out for sea trials. And it really burned me up that the sub we were monitoring was the George Washington. I could have done 2 weeks on the George Washington, I went back to the unit, and our skipper at the unit was commandant of the 6th Naval District. And I raised hell. I mean, at the situation, here I was, a trained missile tech, on the George Washington. We went to sea. I was assigned to a torpedo crew on the diesel boat. There's no missile group. So actually, he got it changed after that. And it didn't do me much good for then, but it took a long time for it to happen, but I understood he did change it. Finished tech and went to work for a company in Miami and stayed in the reserves. I was going to make the reserves a career. I had to travel 65 miles each week to get to the reserve unit down there. And that's not so bad. I was an instructor. But I guess why I ended up getting out of the reserves, they had a female commander that I had nothing against. Females as officers. But this one was so petty that she drove a lot of people out. And, I finally said after about a year and a half with it, I said, I don't have to put up with this. My wife told me the same thing. She says, you come home so frustrated, just go ahead and drop, which I did. Looking back, I'm glad I did in a way, but I wish I'd stayed with the career. I wish that hadn't happened.
And you left the Navy when?
Let's see, probably about 72.
You think you'd be called up for Vietnam?
It's hard to say with my rating, unless they just needed people for submarines. I don't think so.
Okay. So what did you do after you got your discharge?
I went back. I went to Georgia Tech. Got my degree there in electrical engineering, or as they say, in electronics engineering. And then went to work for a Square D electrical company, a national manufacturer of electrical equipment. I was with them 23 years, and they had a major layoff. I got laid off, and that, I was sort of a senior person, making too much money. I think that, I'm guessing, but to me, that's what they're doing when they cut back. And I went to work for, the first Monday after I got laid off, my best customer in Orlando, Florida, an OEM that built control systems, called Square D office asking for me, and they said all they would tell him was I was no longer with Square D. He called, he knew me well enough. I'd called on him for years. He called me at home and said, "Get your tail over here. I want to know what's going on. And just to let you know, if you're not with Square D, you've got a job here whenever you want to start." So I ended up going to work for that company and worked for them for 16 years.
And you retired when?
In 07.
What are you doing in Dewey? Why are you in Dewey?
Well, I'm a camper. I'm an RVer. This summer, we were volunteer camp workers at a KOA campground in Gaylord, Michigan for 4 months. We were there because we never had seen this whole part of the country. Michigan, I guess you call this the Midwest. So we worked over there 3 days a week. We had 4 days a week to roam and learn the area there. We covered Michigan, a little part of Canada, all the Great Lakes, UP, went to a Packer game. But when we left there last month, we're on our way back to Florida. But we're taking a very roundabout way to do it. We're seeing the states that we haven't seen. And we came in here, and I'm trying to remember, my wife looked up something about Dewey, and we stopped here. We were headed for Tulsa for the night, and Tom Mix Museum.
Yes.
She saw that in the book and said, "Let's go there." It was close enough, so we came here and talked on the phone, and 15 minutes after we were here, we were we ended up, we're staying at the campground for 2 nights here to go to all the you know, activities here.
The jail dedication. And all
Yeah,
that.
we went to that. We saw the parade today. We're going to the rodeo tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. But then we'll head on to Hot Springs, Tulsa Hot Springs. See some friends in Memphis. Go horseback riding there. Head down to Alabama to see my sister and her family, and then head home. We'll be home in about another 2 weeks.
I'd like to ask today, when you hear the name USS George Washington, what do you think of?
The time I had on it, I enjoyed it. I really did. I mean, people say, you know, submerged for 2 to 3 months at a time, you're nuts. No, we had plenty to do. We had a great library on the boat. Like I said, the USAFI courses. But I think about all of it. The guys that were, members of the crew, which I don't remember that many now. I wish I'd kept in closer contact. But going to Tech, it just, that was it. I had blinders on for 4 years. But just how great a time it was, and how glad I am I served on it.
How'd you get some mail? How often would you get mail?
When we came back in.
Okay. Every 3 months?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, we didn't get any mail. In fact, we got very little news at sea. We had one guy that lost his whole family while we were at sea, and they didn't tell him until we got back in. Nothing he could do except, go to pieces over it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anything else you want to talk about?
I think we pretty well covered it. Yeah, I would say I'd recommend it to anybody. In fact, my feeling is every person, boy or girl, growing up in this country should serve at least 2 years in the military.
Yes.
Not necessarily combat, but 2 years in the military to learn what responsibility is.
Yes.
I mean, they say you never volunteer. I volunteered for 2 things. Glad I did. One of them was a blood. The doctor on our sub was working on blood research, and he developed the tubes that they use now when they stick a tube in to take multiple tubes of blood that you slot, the vacuum tubes. He developed that system on us. So I felt pretty good about that it turned out that way. I mean, at the time, every day he'd take blood from us. So, but then I volunteered for a free ascent program, which I can't get into too much.
Well, sir, this is a very good interview.
I enjoyed it. I think you asked great questions.
I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
Well, thank you.
And we better cut it off.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.